2:06. Okay, everyone, I'm calling the meeting to order. It's 2:06. Okay?
Is your mic on? Is the mic's on?
That's just for the TV.
Bring it closer to you at least so they can. He said they were on.
They're on, they're just going into the camera.
That's not the camera on.
Okay,
We should have a mic.
well, you have a mic.
We should have a mic to speak to the tenants so they can hear us, because they can't hear us through these mics.
Okay.
Do you have a portable mic?
I'm not sure, I can ask Alex if we can get it.
You don't have one here.
Not
No, not for this meeting. Okay, Tammy, are you presenting the annual plan, or how do we do it?
No, I present the annual plan. So in front of you is a copy of what I've submitted for the year 2023. And I guess I just want everyone to know that it's not, these are in the blue on that page is what I've submitted to Dhcd. It does not mean that they've approved it and given us the money for it. Once you get the fish project number, which is located on the left-hand side, that means they've given us the money for it. So these are just items that Jim and I sat down with Hugh, our area coordinator, and came up with that we felt were in the best interest of the housing authority. So what we've requested is, there are a bunch of trees up at Hillside that are getting dangerously high and starting to die, so we need to have those come down. Filling the driveway cracks, the hot water tank replacement. We had a hot water tank fail in one of the apartments, and we rent them from New England Hot Water Heater, and in order for them to replace it, it was going to take like a week for them to get here to look at it, and then it was going to have to go out and they were going to have to find one. So in the meantime, we called Fontaine Heating, and they had one, and they replaced it like in a day. So I just feel that it's best we're paying for these tanks that they're not going to be able to replace when we need them replaced. You can't have the tenants going without, in the middle of winter, without having hot water. So I just felt that getting out of the agreement with them and replacing them on our own would be best. It's it's broken down into 3 projects only, so it's more manageable by us in case they're more apt to say, okay, here's $13,000 to do this, and then, have 2 other small projects instead of them saying, all right, well, here's $50,000. You know what I mean? It just seems more manageable, and we're hoping it'll get approved that way better. And then the other one is to do the roof replacement for Building 2. So that's what we've requested for year-end 2023.
Okay, but right now you have the number in 2024 because it's not approved, is that correct?
Right. So it's 2023 to 2024 is when the date comes in. We've already used our money allocated for 2022 and 2023 on the roof, on the other stuff. So that's why you see some of the money is in one year and some of the money is in another year, because they have to divide it up.
Okay. And the hot water tank replacement, is that per unit?
No.
That's for a building?
That would be to take, I believe we have 11 that we are still renting from them, and that was just kind of dividing it up into a reasonable amount of monies. Now these, when they're doing the annual plan, they have to have, each year the money has to be a certain percentage of something else, and then over a course of 4 years it's got to be a percentage of something else. So this is just, the amounts aren't actual, aren't set in stone.
And we rent them, we don't own them, so we invest this money for rental?
Well, that's not what we're investing for rental. That's what it would be to cost to replace the ones that we need, that we are renting. We pay
What,
It's like $300, it's like $150 a month for them for us to rent them. So what I want them to do is to allocate the money to us, and then when the hot water tank fails, because there's nothing wrong with them, so when it fails, I can just turn around and have it replaced. We'll own it, and I can put the bill towards this amount of money.
okay.
It's not like I'm gonna go out and replace them. There's nothing wrong with, when they fail is when we'd be replacing them.
And at that point, instead of renting it, we would own it?
We would own it.
Okay.
So is this money that you're requesting, is that gonna be earmarked specifically for them?
Yes.
So it'll just sit there until
Yep,
you need them?
right, that's how.
Can't be used on anything else?
No, that's how the FISP projects work.
Okay, anybody else have questions?
And how big are those tanks?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure. The cost we got, the quotes we got for the cost of them are replacing the size that's in there. I don't remember what the actual sizes are.
So how many apartments does each tank service?
Some of them service 4, then there are, I want to say, 2 of them that service 2 units.
So DHCD isn't going to say, hey, you have this money, use it for something else?
No, that's the kind of the problem with fish projects. Like, we have the money set up for the roof on the building in the back, that it's set up for replacing the roof. So it's, I can't take that money and put it somewhere else because they gave us a fish number. Once it has a number, then you really have to use it for what it says you were doing with it.
Mm-hmm.
So you're just discussing what's in the blue highlighted area right now?
Well, we went through and we kind of, I mean, we can talk about the others that are in there also. I mean, we went through and I wanted money in there for unit turnovers for renovations. I think that when a unit is empty is the best time to go in and replace the counters and the bathrooms and anything big that's needed instead of disrupting the tenant while they're in there. So I would like money earmarked towards that to be able to do that. Again, it's broken up into 2 smaller. That's not, that $18,000 isn't what it's going to cost to do all of them, but it's a starting point. And then there's another hot water tank replacement in that year.
In 2024?
Right.
Okay.
Right, and I mean, so next year when we sit down to start do the annual plan for the upcoming year, we'll look at all of these projects, and something else might come up that is more important to us than one of these, so we just kind of bump it. We just felt that those that are in the blue, to us, were the highest priority. We don't need the trees falling on the tenants up at Hillside. The driveway cracks, we're worried about the tenants tripping over the, uneven ground here. Or anybody else, not even a tenant. I mean, I tend to fall on things too.
Yeah, that was a big problem for a while, the cracks in the sidewalks, yeah.
Yeah, so, and then of course, we're always trying to get that roof caught up on our roofs.
The trees up at Hillside, is that a bid you got, or is that what you're guessing? Or who
That's
looked at
kind
that?
of, it's a little higher than what the 3 bids were, but because we figured by the time they give us the money, they're gonna be higher, prices are gonna be higher anyways, so we went up a little bit to hopefully be better in line for.
So is it trimming the trees, or is it removing?
It's
the
not
trees?
removing the trees. Well, there's one that needs to be removed, but it's not, it's kind of like in a clump of other trees, so it's not, it's not in danger of falling on somebody, but it needs to come down. But the others are just trimming the branches that are around the apartment buildings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the ones in green that you have already got your status for, when is that work going to start?
That work is all, the only thing out of the green that has not started is the garage roof replacement shed. And that we're going to talk about today in the other meeting. And the hallways. the front hallways.
Okay.
I thought we already did the office. Oh, we did that.
We
That's why
did,
you're
but
saying-
they
okay.
haven't, once you do it, then they have to, you know, there's a warranty period, and then there's a wait period, and so that should be coming off soon. And like the boiler venting up at Hillside, that's already been done also.
So does that come off when they pay us, or have they already paid us?
They've already paid us for it. It just, normally it takes a year, a little over a year for it to actually come off the plan.
Okay. Anyone else have any other questions?
Just that it's 5 years till a possible generator.
Well, they came through with, they're awarding us another year's worth of formula funding, but I'm not, they haven't, so they told us they're giving us another year's worth of formula funding, equivalent to 2024, which is roughly $74,500. But they haven't told us when we can start planning to use it, what we have to do to use, you know what I mean? We still have to put in for it, so I don't have any other guidelines other than we are gonna be getting some extra money.
Well, that's over 120 anyway, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, you know, at that point, we can start breaking it down to,
So skipping down, you're not going to plan to replace the roof on Building 4 until '26?
well, you have to, you know, we could, so when you're doing the formula funding, you have so much money, and you have to have percentages within each year. So that's why some of the projects, even though we're gonna do the project in 1 year, it may take us 3 years to pay it off. So in just trying to get the numbers to jive, he's put it in that year. Now, if we can come up, when they award us that extra year, we might be able to move things forward. You know, at that point, we have to sit down and have this discussion again on, all right, we have this extra money, now how do we use it? You know, to the
Okay.
best. So it's a constant juggling from year to year on what you're doing.
Okay.
And he is Gary?
No, he would be Hugh McHugh, he is our regional construction
Okay.
guy.
Do we need to vote to approve it?
Yes.
So if there's no other questions, I need a motion to approve.
And just a quick, this is the annual plan, or is?
Yeah,
It's
this
all
isn't the whole
part of
plan,
it, so if
This is
you
part of
have,
it, but we are approving the capital improvement plan.
right, if you have questions on the annual plan, you can ask them, and we can go through that.
I was curious, just
Yeah.
so I
You're
clarify.
kind
what
of
it is.
approving the whole,
But are we approving piecemeal, or are we approving
you
it all?
kind of approve the whole thing.
Okay, then we should finish going through
Right.
before we have a motion. I thought we would have to go through this section. Okay.
I like all the different languages to start with.
Oh, I know.
God, I hope the whole thing isn't like this.
No.
So did I.
Okay, so what next section do we want to go through?
Well, it's, if you have any other plans, I mean, it just basically, the annual plan goes through and tells, it's got a copy of the PMR on it.
Right.
It's got a copy of the, you know, the plan, you know, if there's an emergency, what we do in emergency, how long we have to respond to emergency. So it just really, the annual plan, that part of the annual plan is just posted on our website, or, you know, out there for anyone to say how we do things here. The real part that needs to be approved is just the,
Okay, so on capital improvement, in the big set of stuff that you got, this is so we have a narrative.
Right.
So even though we just reviewed the specifics, there is a narrative on the whole process. So if anyone has any questions,
There's a whole section that there was no findings on because of COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was interesting.
Yep.
And I thought the communication part, with the
That
survey,
survey they did? Yep,
that was pretty interesting.
yep.
Okay, so my question is there anything else we want to talk about on capital improvement, and let's go through it section by section? So if anyone has anything else, let's bring it up now on capital improvement, otherwise let's move on to the next section.
Did you meet with anybody to go over this at a time, to talk about this being posted for the tenants and all
Oh,
this?
yeah. Oh, yeah,
And
they
you
have annual plan classes where you meet one-on-one with a gentleman that goes through everything with you and makes sure it's posted correctly and pulls in all the, you have to upload everything and he pulls it all together and
Did you get any feedback from residents on this?
on the annual plan?
Yeah.
No.
No?
No, it's been posted in the
Okay.
laundry room and in the hallway. They don't get the 82-page version.
Right.
They get the short version.
Yeah. Understood.
Okay, so for the next section, is it the performance management review we want to talk about, or the operating budget?
We got maintenance and repair.
Maintenance repair.
Wouldn't that be next? Maintenance and repair?
I didn't bring mine, I didn't think we were gonna go.
Sure, maintenance and repair.
Well, it's right after.
Section 3.1,
Hard to
pages
tell.
1 to 6.
Yeah,
Where are you?
okay.
Section 3.1,
Right after the
pages 1 to
capital
6, it
improvement plan.
says maintenance and
So,
repair.
about this many
plan.
pages.
All right, I got that right.
About
Okay.
this many, yeah.
Okay.
I was just going through what was
Okay.
there.
Right,
So-
that's what I did too.
Yeah.
So if you read through it, it just sort of lays out what the process is.
Yep.
The options on
Looks
the
like this.
emergency request system. Okay, the 24/7.
And then qualifying emergencies.
Okay, yeah, I got that.
The question, again, we had the issue before about the work orders.
Yeah.
Work orders are requested completed in 14 calendar days. That's the goal, or that's what you're doing, right?
Unless there's an issue with getting parts, they're
Right.
done.
Okay.
And then we record that, and do we seek a waiver then, or is it after a longer period of time?
A waiver for a work order,
Yeah, in other words, if a work order cannot be completed,
we defer it.
we defer
We
it.
just put it on the deferred maintenance, and it just kind of takes it out of that part. There has to be a reason, and
Right.
the reason gets logged in PHA,
Mhm.
and then, when the parts come in to complete whatever it is that needs to be completed, then we, like if we're waiting for the electrician, because the electrician is so booked out, we defer the work order, and then when they come in, then we pull it back into the regular work order and we complete it.
Okay. And so on page 5 of section 3.1 at the top lists the multiple step procedure on work order process.
Yep.
For anyone that wants to review that.
Now, you have two different kind of work orders.
We have three different kinds of work orders. So
Okay.
you have a request, which is one from the tenant, and then we have our preventative maintenance work orders, and then we have our scheduled work orders. Like cleaning the community room is a scheduled because he does it once a week. But the preventative maintenance is checking the truck and the oil and the fluids and everything in the truck. Cleaning the dryer vents.
Well, the regular work orders go out weekly?
A
they
regular work order
issued?
from a tenant.
No, I'm talking about the,
So our every day.
Every day.
Every day, scheduled or preventative come out, depending on what's scheduled for that day.
okay,
So from the performance review that we had, we went through and set it up, so on certain days, they do certain things, and then it's not, depending on how often it has to be redone. Now,
I'm talking about your normal, every week stuff or everyday stuff that has to get done.
it's scheduled in the computer, so when Shelley or I come in the morning, the first thing you do is you look at the work orders, and you click the ones that need to be scheduled, you click start scheduling, and then you go over into the other screen and you print them out.
And they're handed out to
Yeah.
handed out to whoever has to do
Jim and
them.
Dakota, so they
They-
can go ahead and do them.
And they have to sign in and sign out.
They have to sign off that they've done them, then they give them back to Shelley, and Shelley inputs them into the computer and closes them out.
Now, there was a question that it was going to have, you were going to have a program done. Now, has that been
I have
done
not
yet?
gotten the iPad fixed yet. The iPad, the gentleman that has to come and make sure that the iPad is synced up correctly and the right version of the program hasn't been able to come in yet. So right now, we're dealing with paper.
Just paper, and everything gets done on a weekly or daily
On a daily
basis, whatever it is, yep,
Before they
okay.
go home, they turn in what work orders they've done for the day.
Now, do the employees have set hours that they come in and out?
Yes.
And is that being regulated by a time card? Do they
All
point?
four of us punch in and punch out on a on a system. Dakota and Jim's is in the garage, and Shelley's and mine is in the office.
And what time do they all come in?
Jim comes in at 7, Dakota comes in at 7:30, Shelley comes in 8 some days, 8:30 other days, and whenever I come in, I punch in. But
Okay.
the office opens at 9.
The office is open at 9? Okay.
I mean, I just noticed, if we're talking, there's a routine maintenance schedule and checklist in here. Is this, and it says Hillside Heights. Is there one that's different for?
Yeah, there's a
Pintail?
different set of preventative and scheduled for Hillside than there is for down here, because up at Hillside, we have to maintain some of the maintenance stuff up there is different than down here.
So is there one for here? Because I didn't see that in here. Anybody else see that? I didn't see that.
I didn't see that, I just,
just
It
curious,
should
just one
be
the
in there,
same.
yep. All right, so I'll get you a copy of the,
I just have the Hillside one.
Because these are the ones that have the daily things, that is, they're everything, a lot of people ones are daily, right? Daily, what does it mean, what do you have daily, weekly, what does that mean? What does daily slash weekly
I'm
mean?
not sure.
I mean, like toilet, clean the staff toilets,
What page are you on?
it's not a page.
All right, so.
It's
let me
just
see
this
what
thing here.
It's just this here. What is,
Walk around, pick up trash daily, it
If you
says.
look at the bottom of the page, what number is it?
Look, it's this thing.
is that a routine thing?
So
Did you make
this-
that up, or is that a
this-
standard?
This is what they give you, and then some of it is standard, and then you go in and you.
That's what your
do
hand
this.
is on,
Yeah,
the other
why
one.
that is
No,
that
I
way,
got it.
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
You're not sure, okay.
But that's the, like, they walk the property,
Yeah,
daily, they walk the property to see what's going on. They mow, lawn is mowed those months.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that's how it's done out.
So there are elevators in that building? In this
No,
building? Good.
no, that's why I'm thinking he pulled the one from the wrong
Yeah,
for Hillside.
I didn't know if there were any down there.
No.
There's
caught
no,
my eye, I don't know, it talks about attending staff meetings, you have staff meetings quarterly with everyone?
We have staff meetings, we try for every other week. Sometimes
Okay.
we go once a month.
And that's all of you?
It's
Okay.
Mondays, when I get here on Monday.
I thought you were doing it weekly.
Well, then
At one point.
people started taking time off, so not everybody is here, so if everyone's here, we,
Grab it.
Okay,
Jim and I, honestly, Jim and I talk, Shelley and Jim and I talk every day. I'm normally here in the morning when Jim comes in, and then I leave at 7:30 to go to Barry. So I'm normally here from 6:15, 6:30 till 7:30. If I'm not here, then we're on the phone, and I
Yep.
talk to him until I hit Belchertown, and then I lose him. Same thing with Shelley, we touch base every day
Okay.
to make sure that she
Yeah.
knows I did, or I know what she did, and
Vice versa, good.
So do you know offhand how many emergency work orders we executed in the last year?
I would say less than 5.
Okay.
The last one that we had was I think was in January, and it was a tenant's door that wasn't, well, actually, last week we had a door up at Hillside that wasn't shutting properly, and we had one down here at Tinsville that wasn't shutting properly.
Okay, so any other questions or anything on the maintenance and repair plan?
I'm good.
Okay, so what's the next section?
Operating budget.
Okay, operating budget. So if you didn't get a chance, by the way, I encourage everybody to really read the definitions, because this is the information you need to interpret our monthly reports on everything.
Right.
That was very
So
helpful.
that is section 4.2, pages 1 to 6. So. And one question, Tammy.
Yep.
It said that our net income or deficit was, on the approved budget, was minus 12,710, so that means that we came in under budget? Or that means that we were short, we overspent our budget by that amount? I guess we overspent our budget.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
usually
that's
a
section-
negative, that's a
Yeah, his
negative.
weren't in order though.
Yeah, section 4.1, page 6 of 6, okay? So I'll refer to that. I mean, I'm guessing that was...
That's a negative, they're all negative in that column.
Yeah, well, that one column, because our revenues were less than our total expenses. Can't find it, I'll give you my...
I got it.
Okay. So...
Did you find your part of that, Mr. Cooper?
I think I'm set there.
Did you find it?
It's this,
Okay, it's section
4.1.
4.1, page 6 of
I
6.
think it's that, yeah.
Okay, so the approved budget for 2022,
Was 493, and the total expenses were 505, so I'm assuming we overspent our budget by
$12,710.
right. And so,
So we overspent, we,
This one.
so.
90.5%
Yeah,
of the percentage change.
Expenses.
expenses.
well, that's
15.
compared to the previous year.
Yes,
That percentage
Yeah.
change. Okay. So we had a much bigger deficit the previous year. But is that money made up with our annual, or is that money made up with additional funds from DHCD? Do you know?
I don't know, I'd have to ask Gary about that.
Okay, so I'm just curious on that. I did talk to Gary, but I didn't talk to him about this, so. Okay.
Well, that 12,000, that minus 12,000 is excessive revenue over expenses. Net income,
Well, expenses were 12,000 more than
Right.
revenue.
yep.
So my only question is,
Right.
do we just take it out of annual? to make-
where does it come from? How do we cover that
How
money?
did we cover it?
Yeah, where did you get the money to cover the expenses?
She doesn't,
Well,
I'm
is
just
it-
asking, does it come from annual? So I guess she has to find out from Gary, so.
Okay. But we're not, the part that I'm not understanding in that is we're still in the 2022 budget.
Okay.
So we still haven't until June
Okay.
30th. But if you look at the financials from what that he turns in the treasurer's report,
Yes.
that's not the same number.
Okay. Well, I guess that's that says approved budget, so we'll just ask the question and figure it out. We probably won't know the exact number until July or August, so. Okay, but if you go back to section 4.1, and you go to so the operating budgets are pages 3, 4, 5, and 6 that we just talked about. If there's any questions, okay, two things I had him clarify. So on page, just to let you know, on page 3 of 6, if you go down to 3690 other revenue, that's basically washing machine revenue and cable revenue. Okay? Other revenue retained is a formula related to our savings from our net energy credits. And I guess they take half of the net energy credit at $100 and divide by the total number of units or something. So we retain additional monies from savings after, in terms of the entire way that we buy energy now, and that equates to $16.54 per unit per month. Okay, so that's what that, because I had a question on that, so. Okay, the other thing is on the operating subsidy line 3801.
It's still on page 3 of 6.
That's still on page 3, and I haven't really looked it up, but what Gary said was that the explanation for that, and he says that the numbers aren't complete, obviously, for the year would be found in Appendix B. So I just didn't look that up yet. And payment in lieu of taxes is what we pay to the town of Granby, and there's a formula for that. That's also half of the town tax, add some number, and multiply it by the number of bedrooms. And so that is, so that we pay that to the town of Granby.
Oh, thanks.
And that's 4520. So. Okay. And then 4541 and 4542, which are employee benefits and pension plan, those are not, even though there's a number there, those are non-cash related. So like, for example, so far this year, we put $22,000 into 4542. So that's related to the pension expense, so. And I guess that was all of the questions that I had for Gary that I was thinking about. So if there's any questions that you have for Tammy or someone. So again, for every account number, when you go to section 4.2, it refers to the account number and gives you the detailed explanation that DHCD has put together.
And that references, just so you know, when you get the financials from Gary every month, that one of them has the line item, so that'll tell you what those numbers are if you want to keep it for reference.
I see what you mean now, okay. we're finding in the next section, who would have made those findings? DHCD?
What,
Oh, the next section is the PMR narrative
well,
responses.
that was Carolina, and that's what we had the other
That's what
meeting.
I got,
Don't.
Maybe she
Anyway.
wasn't here.
I might not
Might have
have
missed
been,
that one.
yeah.
That would be Carolina and,
Okay. They were all no response, so that's, yeah.
section was the next.
Well, I guess the one with all no responses.
So does anybody have any questions on section 5.2, the PMR criteria descriptions or anything? Because that's just the description.
Yeah.
And then after that, section 6.1 are the policies that we have, so.
So some of those we need to, how often are they revisited? Some have been for a long time.
that's why I've been trying to redo,
Okay.
bring them up to everybody, because you have to redo them and turn them in now, so.
2014.
Definitely the capitalization policy sticks out.
Oh, yeah, that.
But that's
2000 I
probably
didn't
more
see that one.
dictated by DHCD than us.
This one was.
So I don't know if that's their capitalization policy or we taking what they want. and done our own.
What number is it?
6.1.
Yeah, that's, I
Yeah,
believe
it's
that
down
was just a
6.1.
blur.
Okay.
Yeah, it's right after section 5.2, page 6 of 6. It's on the back page of that. So the PMR narrative responses.
Yeah, I'm all set with everything.
Okay, so does anyone have any questions about the policy? And then, what's the next?
Waivers, said there weren't any. Well, no current waivers.
Okay.
Attachments.
Do we have a section 7?
I think it went from,
Yeah, I think it went from 6 to 8, but since I tore everything apart.
I know,
Yeah,
it's
that was
just
how it
confusing
started out.
after a
Okay.
mess, but I
Okay.
know.
yeah, 7.1 was waivers.
Oh,
And
right.
it says there are no current
No
waivers.
current, okay. Right, I read that sentence. Okay. Okay. And then section 8 is just another glossary.
Mm-hmm.
So I encourage everybody to periodically just, glance at the glossaries and the definitions so you stay up to date.
It looks like on our little circles that we did pretty well on our maintenance and repair stuff.
Yeah. Some things we didn't do that well on, huh?
And the last section, 9, which is, remember, this is based on a survey, so,
Yes,
And I want to say the survey was like 2019 or
yeah,
something.
before COVID,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. Does anyone have any questions regarding the survey?
these
Do we know how many
surveys,
people completed the survey? Do we know, you have no way, we don't,
No, it said right here that
Percent to 56, but
32 units responded. Okay,
okay.
that's
I
on
see
the
it right
first
there, I see
page.
it.
So roughly
Almost
half of the units, roughly half the units responded, just
Okay.
slightly under half.
That's a good response.
Okay, so, yeah, so that's indicative. You can statistically project that out with confidence based on the survey results.
So overall, our rating of satisfaction generally is higher than, yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
And then they just reviewed nothing, basically, because there were no findings, right? So, yeah.
Okay, anything else anyone wants to bring up regarding the annual plan? Jim?
No?
No,
No? Okay. And if there's nothing else, I need a motion to approve.
Make a motion to approve the annual plan of the Granby Housing Authority. I think it's 2022, am I correct?
23.
No,
2023.
For fiscal 2023.
For FY 2023.
Second?
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Okay. So we don't need to adjourn to then move on to our regular meeting?
No.
Okay. Okay, very good.
We don't have to vote separately in the capital plan?
No.
No.
That's all part of the whole plan. Okay, good.
I was afraid if I took mine apart, I'd never figure it
I'll
out.
figure it out.
That's why I didn't take it
The
apart.
best guess.
I didn't dare take it apart.
So the minutes,
So the next, okay, so there was just one typo at
okay.
the top. The meeting was called to order at 2:00 PM.
2.0.
Oh,
Oh, yeah, 2.0.
It's the same as 2.00.
Yes.
2.000.
You got Don's name right, though.
Finally. There you go. Okay, so is there any discussion, or otherwise I need a motion to approve
Motion to approve the minutes as written,
as amended?
as amended. Sorry.
That's okay. And I need a second.
second.
Okay. And any further discussion? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
I abstain, I was,
Okay,
present, not present.
that's fine. Okay, so next up is public comment, and first we're going to hear from Jim Sewell. You're up.
Me?
Yeah, you're the first one up on the list.
Want me to stand up to the microphone, or can you hear me?
If
well?
everybody can hear you,
I can
you sit
hear
there.
Good.
Okay.
I'm not here to be confrontational. I'm going to also use some allocates and also some constructive criticism. This board is doing a good job, I think, in representing GHA as far as Dhcd is concerned. Keeping us in compliancy, reports are being done right, everything is going good. The only thing I could say about the rest of it is that you're not doing a good job at all for the tenants. After serving on a board for 5 years, I know your responsibilities are not to make life easier for the tenants. Controversially, you're not supposed to make life harder either. Some of the decisions coming out of the board lately are definitely doing that. The biggest one being this farce about the water. That's it doesn't even affect Hill Manor. The action that predicated all of this talk now about the people lugging water up the incline in the back and plants, etc., is because of the situation that happened up at the other facility, which has nothing to do with DHA. Nothing, as far as the tenants are concerned.
What are you referring to, Jim?
Ask people to walk up that hill back, take the incline back there, carrying plants, flowers, and water is ridiculous. And I'm surprised that this board is even considering it.
We have not heard of anything
Because of
of
the
that
garden
at
Well,
this
we
time.
have.
No?
Well,
Hold on.
Okay.
the board has not heard
didn't know anything
anything
about
about
We
that.
have.
I know you have, but we have not, and you're saying that the board is doing
The
something wrong.
administrator, I said the administrator.
No, you said
and
the
No,
the
you
board.
didn't say that.
Okay, let's not make it confrontational.
That's
So-
okay. So we need to know what he's referring to.
I'm sure Tammy
Well,
knows.
there's a water policy in our packet.
I'm not done, by the way.
Yes, I just want to get clarified.
Okay, let him
Okay,
do
so
whatever.
let's let Jim explain further. Go ahead,
It's the
Jim.
little one, that one.
There's no time limit, so you
Second
can have
page.
as much time.
The
Okay.
thing that happened with
Page 2.
banning an employee from this facility from coming and speaking at meetings. That's a direct, he's a registered Granby resident, a taxpayer. He's got every right to be here under open meeting law.
He can be here.
Somebody didn't like what he said at the last meeting,
He
and
can't-
I agree with you.
He can't,
He shouldn't have said what he said, but he said it.
That was a year
You
ago.
can't ban him from coming to meetings and speaking his mind. Banning him from coming here because he's an employee is like telling a tenant, you can't come here and speak because you're a tenant.
he can come here and attend this meeting. The lawyer has indicated that an employee of the facility is not to speak out during the tenant's part of the open meeting law. If they have a problem, they have to go to the director, not to us, and not in this this is for the tenants to speak, not for employees.
Wrong before.
This was indicated by the attorney, which we discussed with him at length.
If he doesn't want to challenge that decision to the election laws, I'll challenge it.
Well, you can challenge anything you'd like.
Thank you.
That doesn't mean it's gonna,
Everything is going against the tenants lately. I don't know why. But there's a mentality going on now that's not working well for anybody. We can get past it if everybody just calms down and talks reasonable and makes good decisions that's going to benefit the DHA and the tenants. And I want to make it clear, I'm not representing any tenant today except for myself. These opinions are all my own. Thank you.
Okay. What I would like to say is that we have established policies so that we have some parameters, so that we have sort of a format in terms of what we want to do. Now, if you want to look at individual policies and make recommendations and sort of note specifically on how to modify those policies. Certainly as a board, I mean, as chairman, I'm more than willing to take a good look at that and consider those changes.
I guess.
We didn't.
As for employees, again, I get what you're saying, and the individual certainly can attend the meeting, but as you know, or as we've stated, we are not mandated to allow any kind of conversation, discussion, questions. DHCD does not require us to enable that for the tenants. We do that because we feel that it is very important so that we get the proper feedback. Now, that being said, we went out and established policies, and we established these policies in the context of, you know, the challenges that we all faced during COVID, you know, the stress of COVID, you know, people, you know, in all sorts of ways, you know, whether it's here or around the country, sort of, you know, things got very testy. So our goal in these policies is to ensure that we have decorum, to ensure that people don't attack people in public, to ensure that, you know, the tenants, there's a format for everyone to speak without being ostracized. So what we'd like, Jim, is that in terms of the water situation, for the next meeting, make a written recommendation on how we modify that and deal with it. You know, that
Time is for $15 a piece.
Well,
To put on the water spigot.
I personally have not seen this yet. This is in our packet today for us to review. So I have not seen this ground and flowering around the building. I've not seen any of the paperwork on this yet, so I'm going to refrain from saying anything or commenting on it until I have a chance to review it and see what's what.
Your administrator has all the information.
We did talk about the pesticides, though, and we definitely approved
I
something
think
on
there's a
that.
tenant who would like to, I don't know, wait a minute, I don't,
If you haven't had time to read it, you just want to put this off till April?
Well, that's what,
I'm
so.
not gonna approve in one reading anyway.
They weren't approving it today anyways, I told you both that. Today I was presenting to them what Don and I had discussed and what we're doing. And then they will look at it, hear some feedback, and then it would be decided on another month. I had,
next month.
you know, that's what I had said to you on it, that it's
So we're
not,
talking about this prematurely?
yeah, they haven't even looked at it yet.
Okay.
I
We
haven't
did this
presented
one.
it to them yet. So they
Yes,
are
we
just
talked about it.
hearing what you're hearing and pulling the paperwork up to
Do you
try
wanna-
and,
Do you want to just wait till April to discuss it publicly?
well, Jim is the one who brought it up.
I was not aware that you guys hadn't read that yet.
Yeah, that's fine. So, I mean, we're not going to vote on it today. If other people have comments, you know, we'll make notes, but
But we've not even
Jim?
discussed it as a board, so
Yeah.
give us
so-
that time, I guess. And then anybody's feedback would certainly be
You'll
important.
handle it more differently than you did the rules change for the meetings, correct? Well, we didn't see anything in writing on those rule changes until you passed it.
Well, that's how
Well,
it is.
that's right, and as was our prerogative,
Yeah.
okay, as was the board's prerogative, and yes,
That was
you can
another
take
smack
issue
in the
with that.
face. Today was a smack in the face by putting the tenants section off in the agenda today until you discussed the other stuff. The tenants weren't interested in that. They came here because they had concerns they wanted to talk about, and you just brushed them aside and did your other business.
What?
Another smack in the face.
Are you talking about our annual plan? We are required to approve this by the end of the month. So that's why we're doing it first, and now we're in the meeting. So let's move on to the next. Ron?
If you can't hear me, you let me know, okay? I'm just going to read this from my paper because it's easier for me.
That's fine.
Okay. One of the simplest pleasures in life is gardening. I'm sure we can all agree on that. I realize the problem that occurred at Hillside Heights and that the issue would be unlikely to occur at Penn Hill, in my opinion. Please don't disrespect the goodwill and hard work of the residents here who spend so much of their time and money keeping this place looking so nice every year, and I think we can all agree on that. I know people who use or have used rain barrels, and they might work in Seattle or London or someplace where it rains a lot, but probably not here. And I think it's unreasonable to expect people in our age group to lug water around, whether it's watering cans or pails of water, from their apartments especially, to outside for the gardens. And I think, in my opinion, it's an accident waiting to happen. And I have spoken to people with the rain barrels, and they don't have the water pressure. There's a hose at the bottom, and it's gravity feed. You're not going to water a large area with that. But on to the timers. They're readily available commercially. They're in stores. You can very easily limit the use of these timers to like 10 or 15 minutes. And I water a pretty good section over here for myself and 2 of my neighbors, and I can do it in 10 minutes. So I would agree with you. Nobody has to run water for half an hour, 40 minutes, or even 30 minutes. And I'd be perfectly okay, and I think most people here would be, to have it limited to like 15 minutes. I think that's reasonable. And after that, the timer shuts off, and then there's no worries about wasting water. But on top of that, I would gladly walk around here every day at the end of the day before it gets dark and check and make sure all the faucets are shut off, and I would gladly do that. And if I say I'm going to do it, I keep my word. But I just want, common sense and just consider the use of the timers. I think it's a simple solution, and I'm willing to bet you that economically they probably cost less than the barrels and the hoses. I just have a feeling it'd be a pretty easy solution to the problem.
What, can you explain to me the timers? How does that, what do you do with it?
They actually attach to the outside faucet or spigot, whichever you prefer.
Okay.
And they can be set so that the faucet can only be used for a certain amount of time, say 15 minutes, 20 minutes, and after that you can't turn it on. So there's no worries about anybody going inside and forgetting the hoses on and leaving it on all night.
Okay, so it goes between the spigot and the hose?
Correct.
In between?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the maintenance guys here, I'm sure, could explain that better than me, but.
Right, I just wanted a
Yeah.
general,
Yeah, not that we know that, but you can bypass those timers.
I don't know if you can.
Yeah, I know people who have them, you just bypass them.
Really?
You just thing and the water comes on, so it's, I'm not saying it's a deal breaker, but, not that I disagree with you, but I know you can just bypass those timers by turning a little switch and the water will come on.
I mean, for the area I water
Yeah.
personally, I can do it, like I said, with a hose in 10 minutes, but
Yeah.
to try and do it with a watering can or a bucket of water, I'd be making multiple trips. I'd be doing it for an hour.
Yeah.
It's just the age group of the people here, and just trying to be considerate of their abilities and, what they're physically able to do.
Yeah, makes sense.
So you're not talking about the flower beds in front of the buildings, you're talking about something farther away?
No, I think most of the landscaping here is in the front or on the sides. I don't think anybody does too much in the back.
How far away are the spigots?
Mine personally is, I'm not saying it's mine, but it's right under my kitchen windows, and it's convenient for me, and I have a hose right there, and I do the front of the building, and then I do along the side. And like I said, I can do it in 10 minutes. And again, it's common sense, if it's raining out, you don't have to water. You don't have to water the next day. If you know it's going to rain, you probably don't have to water the day before. And I never watered if the ground is wet. I don't waste water. I don't believe in it. But if it's a drought and it doesn't rain for a week and the ground's dry, then obviously you have to water it once a day probably, but unless you want your stuff to die.
What was the talk about going uphill?
That's something.
that's something in here.
Okay, here's what we need to do is, once he has his comments,
Okay,
All
yeah.
set.
okay, what we need to do is turn it over to Dawn and
Oh,
Tammy.
well, who else, let's just let them,
It's related to all of this.
Oh.
There's only 2 people on the list, they're done,
Okay.
okay?
somebody else was down there. Did you want to speak?
No, just right here.
Okay.
Okay, so instead of going in order, because we started on this, why don't, I think this is number
Yep.
7, right?
Yep.
So let's jump to number 7 and,
So in September, you guys asked Don and I to, over the course of the winter, go through everything and come up with some sort of grounds, flower bed policy, water policy. So in talking with Jim and Dakota, and the different things that goes around here, we have, it's kind of a multi-step thing. The issues they have with some of the flowering beds in front of them is they can't get in with the mower. And they have to watch out how far they go because people have fences and things and they don't want to break them. There's a spot over here where they actually can't get the mower in, so we're, they have to weed whack it, and sometimes it gets waxed a little low, so we have to fix that. The flowers are coming out onto the ground, and it's farther than from the area, not everywhere, just in certain spots, so they have to watch out for that. And then they have the hooks, the shepherd hooks, lean over, and they have to look at that. So in talking with maintenance, they would like it taken care of to make their jobs easier. They don't have to worry about the pickers from the rose bushes or all the other things. Because we have the project up there where we just have the money to fix the roof, we decided that it would be nice if we took the walls down on that building, the shed up in the back, took part of the roof down and made a covered area on the slab, and I put, this is a picture of this.
You know what that was.
We're going to move the shed from Hillside, which they don't use up there, but they can utilize here, up on, and it's going to fit on that slab. But then that'll leave a spot for them under a covered pavilion type area where they can have a table if they want to plant or whatever. And if tenants would like to sign up, they can have their own little vegetable garden area. We can have like a 6x8 section. We'll find someone to come in and till it for them and everything, and then, they can have an area up there. We had a lot of trouble last year with the vegetables down here, so we were just thinking that if the vegetables all went up there, it would be easier. We have 4 raised garden beds. We're going to bring the garden beds down, and in front of the gazebo, in between the sidewalk and the gazebo, there's a grass area. And on each of the 4 corners, we were going to put one of the raised garden beds for the handicapped units. Because that gives them the 2 sides that they can get around and make it easier for them. The rain barrels, we were going to stick one on each side of 1 and one on each side of 2, and then over here. And the hoses on the bottom, they fill up. If we're in a drought, then maintenance would go through and make sure that there's water in it, in them every week. So that's what we had. So the policy that Donna and I kind of came up with, the grounds around each building are the property of the housing authority, and we welcome the dedication and the care that's put into them, because they are, the grounds do look very nice and they do a great job. But the residents must seek permission from management before planting, pruning, trimming, or removing trees, shrubs, plants, flowers, or bushes. Now, that's in, those that have been here a while, that I did find it's not actually a policy book, but it's a now you've moved in here type book, and this is what needs to do. The grounds are ours. When you plant something in it, it does become property of the housing authority. We do thank you for taking care of it. The only thing that we'd like to see planted in the front are flowers that, not the roses where they climb or anything like that, because then they're going to get into the heat pumps and the windows and start invading. Please remember, each section of flower bed must be shared equally amongst the tenants in that hallway. No tenant is to plant in a section that is not directly around their specific hallway. All vegetation planted in the back of the building by the heat pump condensers must be low flowering, not to grow into the pump condensers. And any use of traps by tenants to catch or kill any animal on the property is not allowed. So.
What about poison?
That's not part of this, that's part of the next one, which is
That's the weed killer.
The weed
insect-
killer insecticide fertilizer. The use of weed killers, especially Roundup, insecticides, and fertilizers by tenants is not allowed on GHA property, as this may be harmful to the drinking water supply. Contaminants that seep into the ground have a detrimental effect on our drinking water and therefore our health.
You have to add poison.
Yeah,
Well,
I'll have to add poison to it, yeah. And then the third one I had put in was the water policy. That would be adding the,
So how would the plots up on the hill get water?
so there would be rain barrels up there for them also.
And someone will fill the,
Well, because you're still gonna have a roof,
oh, come on.
they'll have that coming down into the rain barrels.
But if it's a drought?
And if it's a drought and, then maintenance can fill them back up again.
Mhm.
If it's a really bad drought, we shouldn't be doing that.
There's gutters on that shed up there?
Yes.
So how far does the tenant actually have to walk to get up there? And what are the limitations for people that have less movement?
Well,
So
we've
for
got the-
example, if you have a walker, are you gonna be able to get up to do a?
Well, there's no walkway going up there.
Okay.
It's on the back hill behind Building 3.
Mhm.
But we don't have a sidewalk that goes back there. So it would be like them walking around down here on the grass.
So if someone wanted to plant in the raised beds who couldn't get up there, can they put plant, or
Well,
vegetables?
we have 4 raised beds. If, we could look into getting more of them. We just figured, like Randall is in a wheelchair. He's not going to be able to get up there. David, when David comes home, he's in a wheelchair. He's not going to be able to get up there. So if we have them in the area over there, at least there are 2 sides with sidewalks that they'll be able to get to.
Can I suggest that, and I know this is odd, but I'm not familiar with what we're talking about here in terms of walking the grounds. Couldn't we, after we discuss this, couldn't we find a time where we could do a little walkthrough, just so we can
Yep.
physically see, so it'll help me, I don't know,
Yeah,
help
when
anybody else,
When the meeting's over, we can walk around.
or whenever.
Yeah, after the meeting,
to
let's
We
take a
used to
look
do
at-
that once a year.
Yeah,
That was
and I
part
One
of
of the
our
tenants
walk-around.
had a comment.
Yeah, I'd like to even see other things, but even
Whatever
just
his
to,
name
Let's
is.
wait until everybody's done here.
If anyone is interested, I have a petition signed by 37 tenants that object to the rain barrel scenario.
Okay,
okay?
Okay.
do you want to speak up? So,
That's one.
Can I speak for a second?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, ladies and gentlemen, if you talk to the residents that have lived here a long time, they did try a garden up on the hill years ago, and it didn't work. It basically died because of lack of interest, because people didn't want to walk up that
Yep.
far. And as the maintenance guys can tell you, we've had fairly rainy summers, and it does get very wet and spongy back there, which is why they have trouble with the tractor. You can see where it bogs in. That's why we thought it wasn't a good idea to put it up there. It's far for them to walk, it's inconvenient, it is a slope, and then you're gonna worry about somebody falling down. Just so you guys, and I agree with you, you should do a walkthrough and see for yourself, but I think you'll get what I'm saying. Okay?
Jim, is that petition about the
Rain
the
barrels.
rain barrels?
It's against rain barrels.
Against rain barrels.
Want me to read it?
Yeah.
Not very long.
Go ahead.
We, the undersigned, all tenants of Pins Hill Manor, respectfully request the proposed changes relating to outside water spigots be put on hold until all the tenants have been informed and have the opportunity to voice their opinions. The reason for this request is the proposed change will present too much of a hardship for some tenants. We need the outside water spigots to remain unchanged. To replace the current system with rain collection barrels and ask tenants to walk up the incline to the current storage shed to do their planting, all because of what happened at another facility is ludicrous, not to mention extremely unfair.
Well, they wouldn't-
37 tenants.
What happened at
They
another
wouldn't be, they
facility?
wouldn't be walking up there with every green rose.
She's talking about when the hose split up there.
I don't know that. I don't know what this
So in
is.
August of last year, one of the tenants up at Hillside forgot to shut her hose off.
Oh,
And the
hose split,
the
and it was,
well went down to the alarm.
oh,
And Jim and Dakota were finally able to find where the problem was,
oh my, okay.
so.
Okay.
do the tenants own the hoses, or does the housing?
Here or at Finn's?
Either, I don't know, both.
Here, we own the hoses. At Finn's Hill, or up at Hillside, they own their own hoses.
No, we own our.
You own your hoses
We own
here?
our hoses.
We own our hoses.
I wasn't aware of that, because I've bought hoses before, so I assumed.
She said the ones here are,
No, it's a mixture. There's
Oh,
some
okay.
hoses here that are ours, there's some hoses that are theirs.
okay,
Up at Hillside, it's theirs.
okay.
So does DHCD guarantee that every tenant can have a garden?
No,
No,
they don't guarantee anything.
no, most housing authorities' policies are, it's our, we own the housing authority, it's the housing authorities, what, you don't put anything in unless you have written permission prior to putting it in, and then it has to be low-lying, non-invasive, there's a whole list from a lot of housing authorities.
So that is the policy from DHCD, not our policy. We have to conform to the policies from them. They own us. You know, we are just managing and living here.
Can I talk again, ma'am?
Sure,
Okay.
why not?
I've been here like 5 years, okay? I have planted tomatoes, peppers, and onions in the front of my building. Nobody's ever said a word. And yes, the stakes do stick up about that high. So you guys are telling me now that it's an issue and I can't have them because they're sticking up too high?
No, it's the shepherd hooks that are leaning over, so when Dakota and Jim go to ride by on the tractor, they have to, are away from
On the lawn, you mean?
onto the lawn.
Okay.
So it's not everybody, I never said it was stakes, I said it was shepherd's hooks that lean, and they're
All right.
dodging things.
Because, I mean, if you guys do want to set a policy against people growing vegetables, I think you need to tell us now before we go out and spend our money buying
I
them.
never said that we were trying to come up with a policy where
Okay.
you couldn't grow vegetables. That was
Okay.
never, ever, was part of any of it. It's just, we're trying to alleviate the problems we had last year with tenants telling other tenants, you can't take
Well,
that
like we-
tomato
like we
because
talked about,
it's.
Tammy, there's a few individuals who are
I
doing it for everybody
understand
else.
that. I understand
Yeah.
that, but to try and alleviate the problems we had last year, the board asked the two of us to sit and come up with a policy, and this is what we came up with. That's why I said to you, it's not set in stone, this is just our version of it, and it's gonna be tweaked. And it's not something that was gonna be decided today, it could take us a couple, meetings to get to the end of it.
Don't go buy anything yet.
That's what I was just going to say.
Can I have some clarification on the water, the use of water? I've been here a while too, but I don't know, how big an issue is the people watering things?
It's watering the things.
Ron says he's done some watering. Is everyone doing watering?
We had one
What-
tenant that was watering the part of the lawn, which is not allowed.
Okay, so I'm sure they were
But-
told, don't water the
And
lawn.
somebody else was watering the sidewalk, quite frankly, which is a little ludicrous.
Okay, so hopefully they gotta be slapped on the wrist and say, don't do that. But in terms of watering, why is that the water's coming from the ground, I realize that, we're not paying for it. So
Right.
why has it become such a
We
big
have a
issue?
well.
I know you have a well, but so everybody in Granby has a well.
Yep.
We're not paying for the water. There should be plenty of water. Obviously,
this
water's
one-
not an issue here for all our tenants, but I don't understand why, and I would think if we could do, rain barrels do work, and I'm not gonna expect people to carry it, but there's a lot of water that will come off these roofs that will fill up those rain barrels more than once. That you could water, I know you're not, it's hard to attach a hose to it, you're right, it's not gonna get anywhere.
Yeah.
But yet the water that's in there, can be used to,
Yeah.
in a little water thing,
Let
to
me
water
just say this
something.
quickly. A gentleman I know that lives on my son's street, he uses his rain barrel, but he only uses it to water the lawn. He said he would never water a growing thing with it, like an herb or a flower, or a fruit or, a tomato, whatever.
Nothing
Because
to eat.
he says when you get to the bottom of the barrel, it's all tar, because don't forget that, that's the stuff from the shingles is leaching into it, the grit and the oil and the grease and whatever, so that is getting into that water. He said he would never water something he's gonna eat with it. He said he wouldn't trust it.
But
I'm
there's
not knocking rain barrels per se, I'm just saying the
But
water
there's a
pressure
screen,
isn't
there's a
as good.
screen at the top that screens a lot of that stuff out.
Okay.
And you're not gonna touch at the very bottom, but I'm just saying it's still a good thing to have environmentally, but not take the water away. I don't think we want people to slug water all over the place, because water's heavy, you know,
Yes.
and, you know, it's not just a little a flowering thing, yeah, that's fine, carry a little watering bucket.
But
to
I
do your
wish you
own
guys
things,
would
but-
seriously consider the timers and look into it, and there's gotta be a way to make them foolproof and vandal-proof, so to speak, and that would, I think that would alleviate anybody's problem, or worry about whether this person is using too much water, or this, I've lived here a while, and I've never seen anybody water more than once a day.
Right, that's
So,
what
but-
I was trying to get
Yeah.
at. How much, I mean, we're not talking about all 54 tenants out there.
Right.
My turn to water, my turn to water,
Right,
my
there's a
turn
lot
to
of people
water.
who
you know.
don't do anything outside whatsoever, so, just speaking for the
Well,
ones
I-
of us who do.
Well, I think it would help if we discuss a little bit more, but when we finish this, if we can just take a little walk to get, no other decisions, but to
Okay, thank you.
help us to know something more before we decide next month, so that we can help everyone out. Flowers, I'm just curious, flowers are the only thing, you're talking annuals? So no one can put a perennial in that will die off and then pop up in the spring?
I have perennials in my garden.
So we're not talking, when you talk flowers, you're not talking annuals only.
No, but what they're saying is
I'm
no
not saying that
vegetables.
I'm not saying that they can't plant flowers.
But it says the only thing to be planted are flowers, it says.
They don't want vegetables there.
We
They don't want
want the
tomatoes and
vegetables. We don't want
pumpkins
the
and
to-
cucumbers
Yeah.
and
We
all
used to have
that.
vegetables in the back
Corn.
of the buildings, because we used to do an annual walk around. There was, someone had great tomatoes out back.
Right. We haven't
should
done
be
that
made-
for a while either.
It should be made clear then the vegetables are not to be planted, period, in the front or whatever.
Well, that's why it says only flowers.
I know, but flowers is, that's what I'm trying to add, flowers is what, annuals?
No,
It's all-
any type of.
It's any type of
But
flower.
we'll-
I know, but then you're saying you can't plant roses, you know?
Well, the roses have to, the roses have to be cut back, so they're not coming out, and then they go up the side of the building, and they're getting into the flashing, and they're, so from a maintenance standpoint, Jim would rather not see roses or anything that climbs up the building, anything low-lying, like the flowers I have, or the bushes that I have out in the front that I had bought at Christmas time are low vegetation. They'll grow out, so you can snip them to come in. So I bought them with the anticipation of putting them in areas that need help on this side of the building.
So these roses and other things are still in these gardens then? So who's gonna remove them?
Well, you have to get
No,
permission to plant
I
a
know,
certain thing.
but these other things are already
Oh,
there, so
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
saying, who's gonna go remove
Right,
those?
Right.
Who's gonna remove those?
Well, if we're removing them, if they're not gonna take care of them, then it would be Jim and Dakota that are gonna
Okay.
remove them to relocate.
Well, that's what I'm saying, so hopefully you're aware of that, that
We
they
have a
have to do
tree
that.
over here on this side that we're gonna relocate.
Okay.
over
Well, I think
into-
it will help if we take a little walk through.
Okay,
Well, I don't know much about gardening, to tell you the truth, but I was just wondering, if you're gonna put this out for another month to be voted on, and for the changes to be made, I thought that we have to plant our things now in order for them to become.
Yeah.
You shouldn't plant anything in New England before May, the end of May, because you'll have to get a frost and it would
Like I
die.
said, I don't know much about gardening, that was
Yeah.
just one of my questions, just in case. And another one is, there were raised beds out here on this big patio that nobody uses hardly. Why can't we do that again?
We're gonna
I think
put
we
the
will.
raised beds in between where the cars are out front and the gazebo in that little grass area.
Oh, and that's
We were
another
gonna
thing.
put four
The
beds.
people that live in building 2 and 3, that are in that area, that horseshoe area, we are gonna be disturbed with all kinds of people coming over. I mean, we can't even open our blinds as it is now. Never mind having everybody coming over, doing their gardening.
Not
No.
not everybody is gonna be over here doing their garden. There are
Not
gonna be
everybody,
four.
but there's gonna be 4.
There's gonna be 4.
Plus the gazebo, it's just gonna disturb all of us.
She's just concerned about the privacy issue.
Yeah, we have no privacy as it is, and that's gonna really wreck the rest of our privacy.
Privacy, no privacy,
Thank you
why?
for listening.
Yeah.
Wait.
Because they're gonna be people
No, but
sitting in
why
the
now?
gazebo and.
Because of the gazebo.
Oh, because of the
people go in.
gazebo?
Yeah. I wish the gazebo could be moved over here or somewhere, because
We've been chasing that one for a long time.
it's not that I'm against the gazebo,
Yeah.
but the thing is, we can hear everybody talk, we can hear everything, we're on display as it is, we're right there. You know, so we have all our blinds down,
Yeah.
people come in our house, they think it's a morgue, you know, we have to, because of the noise and the people and all that, and I love the people, but it's not because of the people, it's because of where the gazebo is. Not everybody wants to walk down there too. But if it was over here in an area where everybody could come to, and this poor patio here, it's beautiful. I don't know how much money is spent on it, but it's not used. It's not used by anybody, it's all sun. We need to have a roof or something. We need to have something to come out here and enjoy ourselves before we get, burnt alive in the summer. Just talking, that's all. Thank you very much for listening.
The noise that comes to everybody.
Okay.
Well, it's good to hear from people, it really
Yes.
is.
Well-
Yes, the noise and the people walking by and, so it's not that I don't mind.
But I think even if we decide next month, I think that will be still enough time for,
Well, the goal is we need to decide next month.
yeah, it will help.
So we'll have this year's policy
But
decided.
after, we can move a meeting up a bit too, if we have to.
So we'll look at that and let's all think about the comments that Ron and Jim and everyone has given us and see if there's other options, how do we try to balance everything properly, okay? Because it is important that everybody can grow their own veggies. Go ahead, Don.
Just
Can I ask
to,
something that has nothing to do with
Don, it's Don's turn.
One second.
Ma'am, just wait a minute and we'll recognize
Yeah,
you
you-
once Don is done.
just to tag on to what Jim was saying, I would like to see the board walk around this property 2 or 3 times a year.
I agree.
And I haven't seen it happen since I've been here. I know COVID came in.
No, we used to do an annual
No,
walk around with
we-
Nancy Brown.
you
That's the
and I-
last time we walked around, was
Yes.
Nancy Brown.
Yep.
Well, let's make sure it happens.
Well, let's
We'll
make
start
sure it
with
happens.
outside.
It happened
Let's
in-
do it for the spring. let's do it
September
for the
of
fall.
every year, we walked around.
Yeah.
I think twice a year is sufficient.
Twice a year, we'll do it in the spring, we'll do it in the fall.
All we do
Want
is,
to do it in the winter?
Did you do it? Because
Yeah.
I did.
You and I
Only
work
if the-
together.
only if
Yeah.
it's below 0, okay, then we'll do it.
Thank you,
you
Don.
and I were together, and we did it, and it's supposed to be done annually,
Yep,
and it
every year,
hasn't been
September, we
done.
did it.
Yes.
With
And all
Rachel,
we do
did.
is the exterior property, we don't go
All right,
inside.
Caroline.
Come on up.
It's not about gardens, it's my usual question.
Mm-hmm.
Any more on the fans?
Yep, give me time.
Okay.
I haven't gotten into my
It's
stuff
on the
yet.
agenda today. Okay.
Getting hot in my voice.
I know.
Okay, so we sort of know after this meeting, we're all gonna walk around, check all that out first before we go home for today. And then, thing I would like to make a notation is after next meeting, let's do our spring walk around. So we'll do the walk around. Remember, we gotta do here, plus we have to go up to the 705 up there on Amherst Street, okay?
That way you mean?
Yeah, I was gonna say, even I don't have a sense of direction, even I know it's over
Yes,
there.
back over the hill. I'm
Just making
sorry.
sure.
Yes, okay. I had my senior moment there, I guess, and lost. Okay, so let's move on to the next item. Tammy?
All right, Director's note. So, Rise Engineer, we've had that ongoing issue with electrical and condensate pumps in the cellars of the buildings, and we've been talking to Rise Engineer forever and trying to get it fixed, and they finally have agreed to, at no cost to us, they're going to install one in each, they're going to redo the stuff in one of each, the cellars in the buildings. And they're going to put the new circuits in with the GFCI protection on it, and then any failed GFCI is going to be replaced at no expense to us. We've also
Yeah.
talked with, Jim would like to see, the only way you know that it's not working is to actually go down into the crawl space. So the company that is coming in and doing the work for Rise has agreed to give us a discount to put a light outside the building, so when something happens to the pump and it fails, the light will go on. So that will help them. So that comes out to $1,000 for the total. It's $250 for each of them, so we are
Okay.
doing that. We met with the gentleman for the hallway project from Colorado, and I'll be honest, I was a little, all right, why are we hiring somebody from Colorado? Very nice gentleman, the lady that works with him, they came in and met with us, and I have a lot more confidence in the company actually doing the work than I did before because they were in another state. But he, hopped on a plane and was out here and walked around with us, and he says, this is what we do all the time, so don't worry about it. They are only doing 6 hallways. And I said, wait a minute, you're supposed to be doing all of them. And they went through and it is only 6 of them because of the cost and the asbestos and the whole 9 yards on that. So they are doing hallway 10, hallway 24, 30, 32, 36, and 44. And what'll happen is the asbestos people will come in and start and do their end of it, and then once they've removed all of that, then an air quality test has to be done, but it'll all be done. Everybody will be here waiting for that to be done. And then once that's done, then they will start and do that hallway. And he said it will go a lot quicker than we think that it will go. They have this all timed out perfectly, so I said, all right. The
So the
tenants,
same work is being done in all 6 hallways?
all 6 hallways, they are stripping the flooring, the stair treads, and the cove base that goes up the stair and around the...
Is there asbestos?
The asbestos is in the glue. Not in the tile, in the
Okay.
glue.
Okay.
So I kind of got excited when they said they were giving us an extra year of formula funding, because I was kind of hoping to be able to hop on and take part of that money, and while you're doing 6, let's do the other 10. And I'm told that it won't cost us as much as this one is because they've already done a lot of the legwork, but we have to have our own project numbers on that one, so.
Can I ask, when they're doing that work, what are the residents supposed to
The
do?
residents need to use their back doors.
Okay.
But he said that when they're removing the asbestos, he said they won't be able to open their doors into the hallways where they're working. Everything will be taped off, and there'll be a tent outside. He said, you'll know where they're working. There's a whole tent, and there'll be bubble suiting.
Okay.
Then once they've got everything out and taken away, they have to do the air has to be tested before the next guys can go in and start doing the actual work on it. So he said it will actually work very fast once they get going. He said they work well together. They're waiting to, we picked out a couple colors. We're just waiting for the stuff to come in, and then they'll schedule everything.
Okay.
When we go out, can we peek into one of those hallways?
Sure.
We can go right across the way, we'll peek into
Okay.
our hallway and...
What hallway are you?
Yep.
30.
30.
30.
And if we, around the
Thank
corner...
you. Just
Yeah. The parts of the building that have the dome are the ones that have the 3 floors. So we're only doing 1 3-floored hallway right now. So it was funny when you see the numbers, because the 2-story hallways are more expensive than the 3 stories, and I couldn't get it, but they're doing more 2 stories than they are 3 stories. So that works that way. And the only other thing I have to ask the board is that We had that balance from one of the hillside tenants that I was trying to come up with the money and come up with getting in touch with her and taking her to court, but the paperwork has come back. She has moved from there, so I'm not quite sure where she is. So I just have $1,676 I'd like the board to write off from her balance. She moved out in May of 2020.
And that's from rent roll 705?
Yeah, yep,
And that would be part of this accounts receivable
Yep.
balance? Okay.
yep.
And that's
Not much choice.
$1,600 exactly?
1676.
in each
Cost you
year?
more than that to find her.
Yeah, I can spend more.
Is there any change?
There's no change, no. It's,
Okay.
it's just that.
Okay, so I would need a motion to approve writing off an accounts receivable from rent roll 705 in the amount of $1,676.
I'll make that motion as you said it.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's basically 2 years old, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
and I tried.
Yeah.
Need a bounty hunter.
Is that in your report?
That's it for my report. Well, the only other thing is the maintenance has been going through and doing the anti-tip devices on the stoves, cleaning underneath the stoves for everybody, putting the Ansel system up on top on the ranges, and cleaning the...
Wait, so the
Jesus.
stove doesn't tip over?
Yeah, so DHC came up with, I guess,
Stove
somebody, somewhere, they were having people, they fall and they hit the stove just right and the stove comes over on them.
Oh, no.
So we put
Okay.
stove tips in.
Oh, okay.
While they moved them out of the way, they were washing underneath the stoves, putting them in, and then the fire stops are like a little, you know those little containers you buy and you light them to keep food warm?
Sterno.
Sternos, there we go. So it looks like that with a magnet on top. And when the flame comes out and it gets to a certain point, it will just burst up to put the flame out.
So they're gas stoves?
No,
No.
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 Flame, you're saying
Catch something
flame.
on fire.
Oh,
let
okay,
your stove
that
go.
flame,
So if I'm
okay.
going on a pot of corn,
Nothing's gonna happen.
It
Ah,
automatically comes out?
If you have flame,
Yes,
not heat, not
yes,
steam, not, if you have flame,
yes.
it will automatically, you'll hear a pop and it will come down.
wow.
Yeah.
Good.
If you want to see how it works, just Google fire stop, and there's a video on YouTube on how it works.
Tammy, I missed the beginning of what you said. We're getting them in our...
Yes, right now they're halfway through building, they've got one hallway left in building 2, and they're doing building 3 next Tuesday, so probably in another 2 weeks they'll be done to building 4. So,
Good.
it takes about a half hour while they're in there to get it all done, and then come out.
Tammy, am I on the agenda?
No, I didn't, nope, I'm sorry, I forgot to put you on, you did ask me.
I did.
Yep, okay. You'd like to, I'm sorry, I forgot to add her.
Okay, before we do that,
Mhm.
was there anything else that, so that's everything really?
That's everything on my list.
Okay.
Hello?
Uh,
Ceiling fans?
Oh, I'm sorry, yep, ceiling fans. So the electrician was here to do some work, and it is $150 for him to come in, a minimum of $150 a unit for him to come in and,
Move the ceiling fan.
and take the ceiling fan down and move the ceiling fan over. But he doesn't know what he's gonna get into. Not everyone, because we didn't have the same person put them all in, he said you could run into, they're not, some could be put in correctly and have the right stuff, some could not be correct. So he said a minimum of $150 a unit. So him alone for
Who's the
the,
electrician?
we got a quote from Elkin's electrician, we use him, but it's prevailing wages, so it's state.
State.
Okay.
And so you're looking at about $8,000 to
8 plus.
plus. 8,000 is just for him, for the 56 units. And then I just kind of went, all right, well, maybe we could take some of that extra money and
The 75,000 that we get,
maybe
okay.
we could take part of that and
I
create
mean,
a project for
personally,
that.
I'm all for moving the ceiling fans. Everybody needs a ceiling
Yep.
fan. You need that airflow. It keeps you cooler in the summer. It can keep you warmer in the winter. And it helps a lot of people just breathe easier. So
Let's get it
when it
done.
comes time to vote for it, you know, when we get the money, as soon as you know, I mean, we
Yeah,
could
they
also
said
take it, if we don't get that, we could still take annual money, we just have to get that approved by
Right.
DHCD.
So I had suggested to Jim to find out, you know, once we, in end of April, well, in April, when Gary gives me the paperwork, we'll see where we're at. We're through the heating season. And then see where we're at, and then look at May, you know, order some of the stuff, then in May, order a little bit more of the stuff, because I don't want to deplete the budget that they have for materials and supplies in case something else goes wrong. But I said if we wait more towards the end of the year, you know, we can see.
So
what
we'll
we-
take some money for this year, and then
Right.
some money for next year, and then by the end of the summer, let's
We
have.
should have enough to do that.
Okay.
And then, worst case scenario, if, you know, something goes wrong and everything, we, hopefully DHCD will allocate that formula funding for us, and we can create a project to get the rest of it
Is
fixed.
DHCD paying for the smoke detectors?
That we're not
Right? I
moving
mean,
the
aren't
smoke
we doing this
detectors.
for smoke?
Well,
Aren't we moving this for smoke?
You're moving the
They're moving this
fans.
because they're too close to the smoke detectors.
Oh, I
yes.
see, that's what it is.
Yeah.
We're
Smoke detectors
moving-
aren't
okay.
affected.
Moving
So the
them.
smoke detectors are already there?
Right,
Yeah.
and they're not moving.
Okay.
So we're just moving it away. So in all, you know, if you stop and you look at it, by the end of the summer, we should have enough funding in order to get that accomplished.
So when the
Okay.
smoke detectors were put in,
Well, the smoke detectors were put in, and then
The
the
fans.
fans were put in. The fans are too
okay.
close.
Okay.
Not all of them,
Yep.
but most of them are too close to the smoke detectors.
Yeah.
So, that, you know.
So are we putting in new fans?
That's up to the, you know, I
They're
can
just moving what's there.
We're moving more towards that.
Well, I
putting
get
the
that,
fans
but I'm
in,
just
yes.
saying, if we're gonna pay for all this labor, the question is, what are the conditions of the fans? Should we, Okay.
In all honesty, if you're gonna be doing that, I'd rather spend the money for the new fans and put in new fans. You can get a new fan, you know, in a quantity like that, they're probably about $50 a piece. So I have, in the budget that I've been working with,
Okay.
I had new fans, because then you have, in order to, if you're using the same fan, you've got to make sure that it's
Yeah.
taken down correctly, and,
if we use new fans, then we standardize the
Yep.
entire facility
yep,
with whatever for that
Right.
installation,
right. So next month, hopefully,
Okay.
DHCD is supposed to let us know within 30 days, they said, on the formula funding. So next month, I'll have a better idea of whether we can
Okay, so
create
for that project, I say you include new fans as part of
Yep.
the whole thing.
Yep.
So, someone else may object. Okay.
Yep.
Okay, it was your turn, you're up.
Okay, I'm Diane Madigan, I live in 42,
Mhm.
and you probably remember me from a while ago, during Mary Billions' reign, at the end of her reign, I requested that something be done for the step that was in front of our place. For a little history, there were only two doorways that had the step, mine and one that's over there somewhere. And they were going to take mine and make it into a ramp, which they did, and the next month it was a ramp, it was like a miracle. And then they never did continue and fix the one over here.
Mhm.
What got this going with me was that we have a lot of people that are falling. I mean, it's part of the whole, that's part of the aging, it's part of everything, but we have a lot of people that are falling in and out of their places. And if we can make it as safe as we can, someone fell on the step, that other step. She hurt herself because they never did finish and do the second door. So I'm proposing that get done. Julie fell and she hurt herself, and she's probably going to be hurt forever. And we have to at least take away the things that are in our way. And we can't take care of everything everybody from falling for any reason, but we can at least take care of the things that are obvious. And that's the only one now that has the step. And we have a nice ramp, and we had, the old gentleman and myself who were on the first floor, both had walkers, and we had to take it up, the step was about this high, so we had to pick our walkers up and down all the time, and it just, all of a sudden, one day I just got the idea, oh geez, this has to stop, and it did stop, and it was proposed at a very fiery meeting. I don't know if that's the reason that it got done so fast, because there was a meeting that a lot of crap happened. But anyway, it's done, and it's safe, and I just propose that we make the only other one safe. I don't know why in this complex two of them had a step, but they do, and they did. So I'm just seeing if we can get that done.
I'll put in for the, when the funding comes through, I'll put in for the money, we'll get a quote on it.
We'll talk to Gary. I mean, if it's a safety factor, I don't
Speed it
want
up,
to wait
yeah.
months to get it done. Safety should have the #1 priority.
Okay, I will get quotes from people and see
Yeah,
where the money
let's
is.
see what we can do. I mean, since we already did this, there must be a record on who did the work
Mhm.
on the other units, so,
Right.
And it happened in a month, so I mean,
yeah.
it's
No, we get it.
Right,
Thank
but the reality of post-COVID and it happening in a month is, it could take a little longer, but I will keep you involved.
But we'll get on it right
people keep
away.
following.
There's another question down in the back.
Yes. Okay, who's
Can I
next?
say something, please? I know exactly what she's talking about, Building 2, because I helped a lady here doing brown bag deliveries, and I've almost taken a couple of headers off of there. And the problem is, there's a railing there, but the yellow paint is completely faded off. You don't even notice it. And I'm just used to walking in my door, which is Building 3, and of course, there's no step. But that step there, it's very easy to forget it's there. There's no yellow paint, there's nothing really making you pay attention that it's there, and it's very easy to take a spill off it. I know exactly what she's talking about. It probably should be addressed.
There's
Even-
one in all of
Building
them.
one.
Well, even if you can't do a ramp there, at least have them,
I
put some
did, I
yellow
wrote
paint.
yellow paint on it.
Okay?
So there's a step in Building 1 and there's a step in Building 2, still.
No, there's, in two, there's still one?
Yep.
Okay, well, we should eliminate, I mean, unless anyone else doesn't think so, I think we should eliminate the steps.
Okay,
I don't want to fall on my little tour here, so.
okay, I think we're done with public comment, right?
Yeah, okay.
All right, so the next
Okay,
is
we're all
the,
set.
Good,
Okay.
thank you.
Thank you.
all right, the treasurer's report,
Pardon?
Wow.
Okay, what's next?
the treasurer's report.
Okay.
Looks pretty much like all of our other ones, right?
Well, the
Besides.
$18,000 difference in the checking account is,
I believe in January, we had to pay some part of the town something.
okay,
We had
that's right.
big
Yeah.
payments out.
Yep, that's right. I think you said that. Okay.
So it was a store or something, right?
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that. Sewer, workman's
Sewer,
comp. I think
yeah.
there was a bunch of big hits.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, safety budget. Okay. If there's no questions, then I need to approve the treasurer's report. I need someone to make a motion,
You want to wait till Gloria returns?
I guess. I mean,
excuse me.
Okay.
This is the report for January now. We
Yes.
always a month
Yeah,
behind?
we're always a month behind.
Okay, I
yeah.
just should have known that, but I
Yeah. And I think he said he'll be here next month because it's the budget.
yeah. I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report dated January 31st, 2022.
Second.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous.
No warrant report.
Hillside fire line model $600, is that it?
That's the annual, that's for the year.
Annual.
For the year.
You pay that at the end of the year, obviously.
Yeah. It's for, it goes April to end of March.
Okay.
Electricity went up through the roof.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's all that wire work they're doing here.
What is that?
Putting all new towers in and taking
that
all
what
those
it
down.
is?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, hopefully they'll be fine. They know what they're doing.
You hope.
Yep.
Disaster capitalism, as I call it.
Enough ice melt for next winter, I guess, right?
Well, the nice thing about that is he takes the ice melt back and then issues us a credit.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
that he'll probably do next month.
Yeah. Well, Sherwin-Williams paints this time anyway.
Sherwin-Williams doesn't have paint. We do have a vacancy up there though, so
They don't have paint?
paint's in
In high demand right
high
now.
demand.
Really?
It's very hard to, so
Oh my
he's
goodness.
trying to get away.
Is that why he's
with
getting, he's getting it from Home Depot now?
Yeah. It's,
Materials and supplies, $900.
So we supply the blinds in the apartments, the
Yes.
housing authority? I didn't know that. Didn't remember that.
And you can't, so we found a company in Florida that has the blinds, and they have them in stock. You couldn't get them from up here anywhere. Lowe's didn't have them, Home Depot didn't have them,
Really?
whatever, so we ordered from down there. But we get, we didn't have tax or anything, but we had shipping and handling. So it kind of came out the same, but and you had to buy a case, so we have a supply now
Yeah.
of blinds.
Okay, so if there's no questions, I need a motion to approve the warrant report.
Motion to approve the warrant report?
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so before we adjourn, because I think we're at the end, the only thing I wanted to ask was,
What is this? Do we have to do anything about these things? Is that something?
What about the heat pumps?
no, I'm just wondering, so where do we sit? Is the problem resolved? Do we know what the issues are?
Well,
I know we're not getting any more money for Dhcd regarding it, but...
Right, so we've built into the capital plan cleaning the heat pumps when they need to be cleaned. We have enough squirrel cages, that's one of the things that they're doing now, is when they're in their apartments, they're taking them out and they're cleaning them and keeping a closer look, on how each one of them is, and then when there is an issue, then we're dealing with it right away instead of waiting on it. So I can say we're on top of it easier. Hopefully, with these new GFCIs, everything will work better because the pumps aren't stopping, I guess.
Okay.
But they're not gonna continue, DHCD is not gonna pay them. We have to find the money to clean them up, every other year, and so we're hoping to.
Is it worth keeping them, or do we have to keep them?
We have to.
I think, you know, to go back would cost so much, because they
Right.
ripped the electric baseboards out of them, and, yeah. You know, I think that we just unfortunately got stuck with a,
Lemon.
you know, with some of the lemons or whatever. They haven't had the same problems in Barry that they have here, you know, and the same company and everything put them in, so it, you know, it's,
So we got the bad lot.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
We got the ones made on a Friday.
Can I ask, what is this?
Oh, that is the audit. We have an AUP audit every year, and that's just your copy for you guys.
For us to read.
That's the audit, just in case you were interested in it.
Was there anything here that showed up that shouldn't be? Okay.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Next meeting date? When is that?
I was,
I'll remind you.
thank you.
You want to go back to the third Wednesday? That's
Well, what's your
what,
schedule, again, Tammy?
I'm here on Wednesdays and Fridays.
Okay, so Wednesday's a good day.
Yep.
So the third,
April 20th?
would that be enough time for Gary?
I think so, yeah.
yeah, that's why we did the
Okay,
third
then let's
week.
do April 20th.
What time?
Let's do 2 o'clock again, if that's okay with everyone.
I like 2 o'clock.
Yeah,
Just ruins the day, though. When it's in the middle of the day, you can't.
I get it. Well,
Morning's not
Monday,
good? Morning's not good?
No, not usually.
well,
Lori doesn't like morning.
I have to do my exercise at 10 o'clock.
That's right, don't mind interfere with that. I saw you on TV the other day.
You did? Did I wave at you?
You weren't
2
waving.
o'clock is my nap time.
yeah, well, I have to
2
get all
o'clock
my
it is.
important work done in the morning. and-
2 o'clock it is.
Okay.
No bread lately,
I have to
huh?
do my unimportant work in the morning.
Okay, then I need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.